The Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 6 fight scene of Falcon versus Batroc The Leaper, or Captain America versus Batroc, however you want to put it. Sam versus Batroc? The one with Georges St-Pierre in it, the Georges St-Pierre fight scene. I've been looking forward to this series finale fight, and now that I've seen it, I guess Bob Ross would describe it as being filled with happy little accidents.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
But instead of trashing it, we're gonna use this as a sort of fight choreography tutorial. I'm gonna point out why these mistakes happen.
Why?
So that we can learn how to film a good fight scene. Sometimes fight scenes that don't live up to your expectations are the best ones to learn from. One of the things you probably noticed throughout this fight is that the actors feel like they're waiting for one another. We need to figure out what made it look that way so that we can avoid it. One of the things that really makes it feel like actors are waiting for one another is when one of them blocks before the other one even starts to throw a strike. So here, Batroc is throwing a kick, but his foot hasn't even left the ground. Captain America has his blocking arm in position ready to block it before the technique has even been thrown. So it destroys the illusion that he's reacting and instead makes it look like there's choreography and he knows what's coming next, and GSP is just being too slow. Actors are always saying there's no acting, only reacting, and they need to remember that when they're in a fight scene, because you can't block before someone's even thrown something. You have to wait until it's on its way and then react to the strike. And then unfortunately, the next thing that happens involves waiting again. It looks like they're waiting for one another, and what's happening is Batroc does this sideways flip and then he's gonna deliver 2 kicks to Captain America. But we can see that he hesitates. He's hesitating because Captain America is looking down at the ground still, and the actor doesn't want to kick Captain America in the face if he doesn't look up in time to do the blocks, right? So he does a sideways flip, lands, sees that the actor playing Sam Wilson is looking down at the ground, not up. So he hesitates instead of moving forward with the choreography. But what you want to do as an actor in a fight scene is keep going forward until this point. The problem isn't that the stuntman looks out for the safety of Captain America and hesitates in case he's not ready. The problem is when he hesitates, when he tries to stop and make sure everything's safe. He wants to stop here, and he can still completely safely stop at this point. The problem is that he stops this early, when the actor is still looking down at the ground. You need to have faith that they're using their peripheral vision and that they're going to look in time and be ready for it. Then you stop at the last moment if you have to. These POV shots are pretty old school. They really harken back to old Hong Kong films from the 60s. But when you do a POV shot and something comes right at the camera, well, it's a point of view, so that's the character's eyes, right? When Batroc looks at the camera and throws a kick, and the foot comes into the camera, well, he's looking at Captain America. So if we see him looking directly at us, making eye contact, that means we are Captain America, we are looking at him, he's making eye contact with us, and if his strike comes at the camera, that means it's coming at our eyes. So when we switch angles and we go to this, the fact that the kick hits his chest, even though we can barely see it because it's off camera, but when the kick hits his chest, that's going to subconsciously confuse the audience, and there's going to be a lot of people who saw this fight scene and just the hits didn't feel right for a lot of reasons. And this is one of those moments and one of those reasons. These little things add up. Here we have Bob Baker fighting Bruce Lee, and he throws a kick at the camera, but then he throws one below the camera. And when we cut to a different angle, what's the technique he's throwing? It's a low kick. He's not throwing a kick below the camera and then it's actually at Bruce Lee's eyes. He throws a low kick, so that means it goes below the camera. Chuck Norris versus Bruce Lee in The Way of the Dragon, kicks go towards the camera, so when we see Bruce Lee, the kicks are at his eye level. Bruce Lee kicks towards the camera, but a little bit to the side. When we cut to Chuck Norris, we see the kick is towards his eyes, but a little bit off to the side as he's blocking it. This isn't a mistake you see too often, but obviously somebody needed to learn this lesson. When you're doing a POV shot, anything that comes towards the camera has to be coming towards the character's eyes if you cut to a different angle. In this instance, they do it in reverse. It starts with Bruce Lee throwing a punch at Chuck Norris's face. When they switch to a POV shot from Chuck Norris's point of view, those punches are coming right at the camera. They don't switch from punches going to Chuck's face to a POV shot where the punches are going above or below the lens. God, that man's hairy and handsome. Now let's move into Captain America throwing a kick, and I do not understand how this kind of mistake is so prevalent. I understand that maybe you cut parts of the fight scene out, and this is a way of kind of splicing them together. You go from one kick being thrown to a part later in the fight where a different kick's being thrown, and hope that people don't notice. But there's no way it should happen this often. What kind of kick is Captain America throwing here? He's throwing a front kick with his right leg. Well, what kind of kick ends up hitting Batroc? A left leg side kick. It's not even the same leg, let alone the same type of kick. How does this happen so much? It's bizarre. Having said all that, that's not what really makes this feel weird. That's not what makes this feel like there's no real impact to it. The problem is that Georges St-Pierre, being a champion level cage fighter, has trouble getting rid of the instinct to block it. So we got Captain America versus Batroc the Leaper, and he throws a kick that is supposed to connect with his stomach, but Batroc accidentally blocks it, but acts like he got hit. So the sound department doesn't really have a choice. They can't make it seem like a block. They have to make it sound like it's a hit as well, because that's what the actor did. The actor pretended to be hit. So their hands are tied in the sound department. But in the end, it doesn't feel like it really hit him, because it looked like a block to us. And that takes us as the audience out of the moment, because it feels much more fake if it feels like the actor's pretending to be hit when they obviously blocked something. So watch this punch that Batroc throws. It's fantastic. All right, it's a right hand hook, follows through. It's hard. It looks like he's really trying to hit Captain America. Fantastic. So why doesn't that happen with the next one? His next punch is a left-hand hook that should be going to the same spot, and yeah, he's supposed to get countered with a kick, but that doesn't explain why his fist just stops in the middle of being thrown. Like, why does it stop in midair and pause? That doesn't happen when somebody gets countered. They still throw the punch, it just either goes from being hard to being kind of lackluster and having not so much on it. But like, the problem is Batroc stops rotating entirely. Like, it's not just that the fist stops, his whole body stops turning, and he kind of pauses and freezes in place when he takes the kick. That's gonna make the audience feel like, oh, he was never throwing the punch in the first place, which I'm sure is what you felt when you saw this fight scene. You felt like that punch wasn't even being thrown. It's like, I'm gonna place my hand here in the air, and then you kick me and I do this. Instead of it being like, I'm throwing this punch, partway through, you hit me, and then the intensity of my punch changes. And that's what you want. You don't want a punch to start and stop. You want it to start and then change in intensity when you get countered. Those championship GSP fight skills, he just is having trouble shaking them today because he blocks the hit. If he was supposed to block it, then they would have him throwing the full punch, right? GSP as an actor is showing us that this is supposed to land because it stops him from what he's doing and he acts like he's been hit and like he's hurt. But the elbow's in the way. So again, the sound department, their hands are tied. They can't do anything about this. The actor looks like they're hurt and they got hit, so they gotta make it sound like he got hit. I really like the way they do this roundhouse kick to the body to counter and then switch it to a lead leg side kick. That's really cool. But again, oh my god, how many times in a row? So 2 kicks in a row right here. Georges St-Pierre accidentally looks like he blocks the kick, and it kind of looks like he realized it and didn't put his hands all the way in front of the kick. But once we switch angles, I mean, it looks more like he's blocking it than like he's being hit by it. So if you're keeping track though, this is a lot of instances of mixed messages for the audience. Why is Sam blocking before the kick's even thrown in the first place? So is it a fight or is it a rehearsal? Why is Batroc hesitating? Does he want to hurt him or not? Why is Batroc acting hurt when he blocked the kick? Is it a hit or is it not a hit? And then the next one, that kick to the counter, is it a hit or not a hit? Why did he stop throwing his punch instead of following through? Was he trying to hit him or was he not? And then that extra kick that we just covered, did he block it or was it a hit? We can't tell. And these mixed messages to the audience stack and stack and stack until they feel like, yeah, they watched the Falcon and Winter Soldier series finale and they got that Falcon versus Batroc the Leaper fight scene that they really wanted, but it just missed the mark and wasn't the Georges St-Pierre highlight reel fight scene that they were looking forward to. I don't think I need to say anything about the flimsy plastic chair versus Captain America's shield, so we'll just skip that.
Why?
There's a reason I've been making sure to say this thing isn't the sound department's fault, and this thing over here, this isn't the sound department's fault either. And that's because we're getting to a part in the fight scene where it's the sound department's fault. So now you've got a choice. You can click on the left to see part 2 and witness a sound department ruining a fight scene, or you can click on the right and marvel at how the sound department in Jackie Chan's The Foreigner elevates a fight scene to an even higher level.